Hey guys, it's Cooterz, and we're going to be taking a look at my most recent build, which is a Summoner Necro build with Spectres. So I'm going to really go over how I kind of leveled it at first in my tree. So let's take a look at the tree first. I have a very, very basic kind of Necro tree where I just pick up most of the minion skills. So like Lord of the Dead and Herd the Flock, Puppet Master, Death Attunement, Grave Intentions, and as well as Grave Pact. Most of these either give +1 to all zombies, skeletons, or Spectres. It is mainly a Spectre build, so that's a lot of the stuff that I ended up picking up, like especially this guy over here, Death Attunement, to get +1 max Spectres. It's the only one really on the tree. Necro used to give you an extra Spectre, but they took that out in the rework from last patch in 3.2. In terms of my Ascendancy, I did pick Necro. It seems to be the best one for this build. I did rush Soulweaver, which this thing used to give you +1 max Spectres, if you remember, but now it just gives you max life to them and damage. So I rushed Invoker in Normal Lab and then Soulweaver in Cruel, and I ended up picking up Commander of Darkness over Puppet Master for Merc Lab. I haven't ran Uber Lab yet, or Eternal Lab. I think that's what it's called, I remember. But I picked up Commander Darkness mainly because of the fact that I needed elemental resists. My build suffered from, or my items suffered from resistances. So I ended up picking up this guy over Puppet Master. I would pick up Puppet Master if you don't need the resistances or your survivability is fine, because Puppet Master is better for your minions in the long run. In terms of jewels that I'm using two Unending Hungers, which basically gives my Spectres Soul Eater when they get a kill, which is really good because they end up getting extra cast speed and they get bigger, which is cool. Everyone wants that. And then I also have 2 Ghastly Eye Jewels. This one's really good. It gives max life to me, additional fire damage to my minions, and cast speed if they've killed recently. There's also attack speed, but my Spectres don't use attack, so it doesn't really matter. But it's cast speed. I have another one I call the baby version, is over here. I get a little bit of life. They get chaos damage. I didn't get a roll on fire, but chaos is fine. And then they also end up getting another 8% cast speed if they killed recently. Very strong jewels, in my opinion. And I did pick up Necromantic Aegis, and the reason why I picked up that was because I had first thought I was going to run a Tokuhama's Vanguard build with the Fortress, but GG did nerf in the latest micro patch or minor patch, I should say. They did nerf the Tokuhama's Vanguard, so they don't put down an extra totem anymore. You used to be able to pick up 2 totems that casted the God, I can't think of it right now. The Ray, the Fire Ray, Scorching Ray. There we go. That's why my guy's name is Scorchy Ray Cyrus, but I don't even use Scorching Ray anymore. So I ended up keeping that. I didn't respec out of it, and I switched to Victaro's Charity. It's another great shield for Necromantic Aegis because of the fact that your minions can get power charges and frenzy charges on kill and on hit, and they also give them to you. So since it's allies, which is pretty nice. And then the area of effect of aura skills for your minions isn't a huge deal, just because of the fact that your minions are always by you and they're always next to each other. So leveling, let's talk about leveling before I show you my endgame build. Leveling, I did level with Poet's Pens. I did the normal, I did the normal Tabula Rasa, all that stuff, Lactonial and stuff. I didn't use minions in the beginning. I ended up using 2 Poet's Pens. Pretty cookie cutter, stuff like Volatile Dead, GMP, Unearth, Body Swap. I used LMP earlier, stuff like that. The Glacial Cascade, Bladefall, depending on what was working at the time. I did actually also spec into this Firewalker to get the extra fire damage for Volatile Dead, which really helped with Poet's Pens if you want to go that route. You could end up doing something else. I thought the Poet's Pen worked out pretty well for me. I also did start using Spectres once I got 2 of them. So once I basically rushed Death Attunement. I went around this way through Occultist Dominion, Lord of the Dead, got my Cruel Path, picked up Death Attunement. And, from there, I kind of got life and stuff like that. And I ended up picking up an extra Spectre along the way with the Bones of Uller. So this gave me the ability to run 2 Spectres with Death Attunement. So once I got 2 Spectres, I started using things like either... I didn't use Spectres that early, so I wasn't using Flame Sentinels. I went right into the Solar Guards. And Solar Guards are pretty much the best like fire-based damage Spectres in the game right now, since Tokuhama's Vanguards got nerfed. And I actually got those because I believe someone helped me out and brought them to my hideout so I could use them, which is really good. So if you have a friend that can do that, who's farther in the game, can like bring it to you once you get them. Now with the changes to Desecrate, they are in your pool, so which is really awesome. So when you cast Desecrate, you can tell I do have, sometimes I will get a Solar Guard like this in the mix. So it's really good quality of life improvement that they made. I don't remember when, a while ago. But before, you know, it would be basically whatever the zone would give you, that's what you'd get. But once you have a Spectre summon, they kind of get into that pool, which is really, really awesome. And basically, you don't lose your Spectres. You don't have to go back to a different act, you know, or whatever to get your Spectres anymore, which is really cool. I think that was a change that was made. I don't remember when, but kind of relatively recent. Yeah, so I used Poet's Pens, and then once I got enough Spectres, I started using Midnight Bargain, so I can get extra Spectres. I had, I think, 3 at the time. 3 or 4, I don't remember, but it's kind of risky because of the fact that you reserve so much life. You reserve 30%. Yeah, reserve 30% of your life. So I think I was using that around level 60s, 50s to 60s. You'd Midnight Bargain, and then I eventually swapped to Scourge. The Scourge. The reason why is because this thing is pretty nice in that whenever you hit, you get 70% increased minion damage, and you know you get attack speed, which isn't great for my Spectres, but it's good for like my zombies or skeletons. So that's pretty much like my end game right now. I'm using the Vis Mortis instead of Tabula Rasa. This gives me +1 Spectres, which is how I got 4. So Bones of Ullr, Death Attunement, Vis Mortis, and something else that I am missing apparently. I don't remember. I can't think of the next one, but there's another thing in there that's giving me 4. So I have 4 Spectres total. This is really driving me crazy. I don't know. I can't remember what the other thing is. I'm using Ascendancy because you need a lot of dex, and you do need some strength if you're going to be using certain skills for like melee, physical, or something for your zombies. I'm using zombies. So an Anger also needs a decent amount of strength. You don't really need an Ascendancy per se, but it helped a lot for me early on. So I'm using this now. I could change it later, but it's been really good for helping me out using certain skills and certain items and stuff like that. And then everything else is pretty much just life and resistances because I've been suffering on that. So like this ring's life resistance, this helmet's life resist, these gloves are life resist. Because I'm not really getting that from Bones of Ullr, I'm not getting it from the Scourge, and my shield does nothing to me because I have Necromancer Aegis. And then I'm using Essence Worm to give me haste, and I'm using Anger as my main aura, and the reason why for that is that I want to do fire damage spells for my Spectres. I do tie it to Generosity, so I can't really use that in my Essence Worm. I mean, I could, but I don't because I need the link. It doesn't really matter anyway. It would be 70% either way with Essence Worm. So Anger with Generosity, what that does is it allows me to use Anger and it doesn't affect me. And the reason why is because I did spec into Elemental Equilibrium, and what that will do is whenever I hit, like with Ball Lightning, for example, I'm going to lower the resistance of enemies to fire by like 50%. And my minions, as you know, don't actually proc Elemental Equilibrium because it's on the player, not the minions. So yeah. Yes, and as someone said, you get 1 Spectre on Raised Spectre. So that's how you get 2. So you could potentially get 2 without Bones of Ullr and just Death Attunement. All right. So that's how I got 4. I am running 3 Solar Guards and a Wicker Band. I call them the Teddy Bear. If you guys know what that looks like. You get them from Act 10, Ravage Square, I believe. And then Solar Guards you get from Act 8 in the Solaris Temple. So the links I'm using on my Raised Spectre are Raised Spectre, obviously, Minion Damage Support, Spell Echo, Elemental Focus, and LMP. So for the Solar Guards, mainly not so much the Teddy Bear. They do 2 skills, like one's a big beam, charge up beam, and the other one is a kind of just a single fireball type thing. So LMP will work on both the spell, the fireball, as well as, or it would spread it out, and then you get 2 of those. Excuse me, and then the large charge beam. I'm not sure if that spell goes, but obviously minion damage and elemental focus and stuff all kind of add to that. It doesn't LMP it though. It doesn't work with that. It's just still a straight beam, but it is a ton of damage. And then for my Ray Zombie, I'm just using minion damage, melee splash, and melee physical damage just to kind of like act as a tank, like melee range guy, just to smash things. And then in terms of my auras, like I said, I'm using Generosity with Anger, Haste just for movement speed and cast speed, and then Clarity. I don't really need this, but I just kind of have it on. And then let's see, what else do I have here? Oh, and then my Ball Lightning is a curse on hit with GMP. So what this does is it not only procs Elemental Equilibrium, but it will also curse with Flammability because I do mainly fire damage on my Spectres. But yeah, that's what I'm running right now. Flesh Offering, Convocation, and Val Summon Skeletons are not linked to anything. I could put minion damage in here for my Val Summon Skeletons, which I'll probably do. I just haven't really linked that up yet. And then running Stone Golem just for the HP regen and the taunting. And those are all the skills that I'm using. The playstyle is very simple. I'll show you like a map. I'll do Underground Sea. All you pretty much do is just run around, Convocate when you need to, and just spam Ball Lightning if you want to like proc your elemental equilibrium. It's a pretty fun build. I do also use like Flesh Offering to give my minions a bit of a buff for their movement speed. So yeah, I mean, I don't really have anything fancy going on. I do get hit really hard, so it's still pretty squishy. I only have 4,000 HP with the 1,500 energy shield, so effective around 5,500, but it doesn't feel that way because obviously it's energy shield and it's not like crazy. I take chaos damage, it rips right through. But yeah, like in terms of the damage, like you're seeing, it's not bad. It's not great, but it's one of those things where it will be improved. Now, the one thing you do have to think about too is that I do use 2 Val skills. I use Val Haste just to speed up, cast speed and movement speed for both of us, and I also use Val Skeletons. But with Soul Eater, you will not get those souls if your Spectres kill an enemy, which is most of the time if you're running like 2 of them, 2 Unending Hungers. But it's worth it in the long run. You will still get souls though if your zombies kill or your skeletons kill or something like that, or you kill, which is pretty rare. You can tell like I did end up hitting through that red mob pretty easily, that red beast mob, and I don't ever have to recast my Spectres. They pretty much never die. I haven't had them die yet. I'm sure they would against a high level Elder or Shaper or something, but on these maps they just kind of live through everything. My zombies, however, do die, and so I mean, like you can tell, like on that boss, it's pretty simple. It's not that slow, it's not super fast, but I think being level 72, it should end up being a lot faster in the long run. I mean, once we get, I don't even have a 6 link yet, so if I had a 6 link, I'd either put on Summon Phantasm on Kill on my Spectres, or Control Destruction, or Conca Factor, or something like that. Ink AoE if you want to map, because their beams end up getting larger, I believe. So that's pretty much the build. I don't know if there's anything else to talk about, but I ended up picking up a lot of, you can tell, a lot of HP, because that's going to be the biggest struggle for this build, is having a lot of HP. Since there's only so many minion skill points on the tree, you want to pick up as much HP as possible, and any damage doesn't help your minions that you pick up. So if you're going to be more of a support build with your Spectres, or a support build with your minions, there's no point to pick up spell damage or elemental damage or stuff like that. So basically I just focus all my points into something like life and resistances, and then of course minion damage and regen and stuff. So not too hard of a build to play. It's actually very easy to level, very easy to play. It's not technical at all. I think the hardest thing is balancing skill points. Like Ashman, if I take this off, I don't want to do it, but I'll end up like ripping. I won't be able to hold like, or wear like maybe 2 or 3 of my items. Like the Scourge takes 113 dex base just to use. Haste takes a lot of dex to level if you want to like have it do well. Desecrate, you want to level up Desecrate, because Desecrate has a corpse level requirement limit. So as you can tell, at level 17 it takes 90 dex, and it says you can create corpses up to level 73, so you normally want to end up summoning your Spectres in the highest zone possible, but however your Desecrate is actually going to be the main limiter of that, unless you have it at level 21 or 20 or 21. then it's going to be mainly the zone. I mean, it'll be both. It'll be like kind of a, you know, a balance between those two. So definitely level up Desecrate as much as you can, just so you can make your Spectre stronger. I think that's pretty much it. So let me know if you liked the build, if you enjoyed it, if you guys have been playing a minion build. If you haven't tried one, you should definitely try it. They're pretty low budget. They're very easy to level and very easy to play technically and mechanically. There's just not much you need to know. It's just kind of, you know, make sure you raise your guys properly. You have the right, you know, combination of things, and just run around and not die. I think that's pretty much it. It's a fun build. It can kill bosses really quickly if you end up leveling it high enough and getting enough damage, like minion damage. I think once I go through Merc Lab and getting Puppet Master, I should have a lot better or a lot easier time dealing with high-end stuff. So we'll figure it out. But I think that's pretty much it. Hopefully you guys like the build. Like I said, comment down below. Hit the bell notification if you want to know when I release a new video. And obviously hit up my live stream, twitch.tv/Cooterz. And do remember to do big and do good and do you. And I'll see you guys in the next video.